Good afternoon, everyone. Bill Rentschler in the 1011 Now streaming studio. Hope everyone's having a nice Thursday afternoon. Again, busy day today, day 2 of Big Ten Media Day. And again, the Huskers were taking the stage. So again, we're not going to waste any time here. We're going to go ahead and bring in sports director Kevin Sjuts, who again right now is live in Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Stadium. Again, Kevin, day 2 is in the books. Again, I think football season is officially started now. Is that correct?
Well, we call this the unofficial kickoff for the football season. At least that's what they say across the Big Ten and many other conferences in college football. So now it's on to fall camp for Nebraska. Of course, they did the intensive schedule of Big Ten Media Days. It's not just what folks see on BTN. Of course, they have the 3 players up there along with the studio host, Matt Rhule. Not only does the big podium, he also did a 45-minute side podium interview, and that's not to leave out all of his interviews on Radio Row and then all the other promotional videos that the Big Ten asks all the players and coaches to do while they're here in Indianapolis.
Yeah, it was a day of heavy lifting for, again, Matt Rhule and as well Jeff Sims, Ethan Piper, and Luke Reimer. Again, lots of interviews out there today. Again, kind of right off the top, I guess what was your biggest takeaway? Again, we heard Rhule speak a lot today. What was kind of the biggest thing you took away from hearing him speak today?
Bill, that's a good question. You know, to answer that as succinctly as I possibly can, my big takeaway from today is that Nebraska, though in year 1 of Matt Rhule, they're preaching patience. They know that this is not a quick fix, yet they're going to approach every day, every moment as intently as they can be. It's a culture thing, and Matt Rhule is so detail-oriented. You could hear that not just from the first-year head coach of Nebraska, but even his players, and they have assured everybody here in Indianapolis that Nebraska has started to set that foundation back in spring football, then during summer workouts, whether it's the weight room, their nutrition, or social activities across Lincoln. Everything is not by fault, it is by design. And Matt Rhule is very strict on the minutia. And hopefully all those little details result in wins later this season. In fact, Matt Rhule even said, if I can't trust you to get to dinner on time, how can I trust you to make a play when it's 4th and 5? So everything is under their microscope with Nebraska's new head coach. And that's my big takeaway, is that, of course, Nebraska wants to win games this year, but ultimately, this is about setting the foundation and positioning Nebraska to have a positive trajectory under Matt Rhule.
Yeah, in his side session he did, again, a 45-minute long session, he said he doesn't want year 2 to be year 1. He doesn't want to take those steps backwards again, and just like you said, wants to build that foundation. I didn't get a chance myself personally to hear any of the players speak. What's your takeaway from what you heard from Jeff Sims, Ethan Piper, as well as Luke Reimer?
Well, first off, I really like the cast of players that Nebraska brought here to Indianapolis and Big Ten Media Days. Nebraska's not going to make headlines, but these are all 3 really good guys who love football. And you could just sense the heart of the 2 of the 3 players are native Nebraskans. You know, Luke Reimer, this program means a lot to him. I guess so to answer your question, Bill, I was impressed with the way all 3 carried themselves. They had answers that answered the question. They didn't duck anything. And they didn't give anything too grand that would capture headlines or be put up in a billboard in an opposing team's locker room. Jeff Sims, I thought he was very polished. He's a little short-winded with some of his answers, but he's willing to talk about anything. It was fun, though. If you talk food with Jeff Sims, you'll get lengthy answers. He tried the cocktail sauce at St. Elmo's here in Indianapolis yesterday, and he said that tore him up. He loves hot wings, but that was a different thing for him. So he was struggling in the gut a little bit last night, able to, battle through and get here today. And then Luke Reimer, the big takeaway in talking to him was the fact that he now knows he has the potential this year to move into second place all-time on Nebraska's tackles chart. Of course, number 1 is Barrett Root, his former position coach. But if Luke Reimer stays healthy and has a 100 tackle season again this year, he's going to be near the very top of a very esteemed list. And then Ethan Piper, believe it or not, Bill, the only offensive lineman here in Indianapolis this week. So he's representing not just Nebraska, but all the big boys across the league. Piper, of course, is a Norfolk Catholic graduate, and he's excited about the O-line this year. Nebraska wants to run the football, and he's a part of an O-line that has quite a bit of experience, and he's excited to get in the trenches with Turner Corcoran and Nuri Nuili and Ben Scott, a transfer from Arizona State, and Teddy Prohaska, who's now healthy again. That's a group that could be very important in Nebraska's success this season.
Interesting to hear that he's the only offensive lineman there at Big Ten Media Days. You just kind of mentioned it. As far as the run game, the offensive line, Matt Rhule spoke again at length during his side session. He's going to be a little bit stubborn in terms of running the ball. They're going to continue to try and run the ball. We saw at times last year with Mark Whipple, the run game kind of just went out the window a little bit. Sounds like that's not going to be the case this year.
Yeah, Matt Rhule wants to run the football, and he doesn't just want to run it outside the tackles. He said sometimes just running the ball between the tackles for 3 and 4 yards, if you can consistently do that, you're positioning yourself to be successful late in the game. Fourth quarter, have you worn your opponent down? So again, this goes back to Matt Rhule thinking of all the little details. So it's not about the play call in the moment, whether it's first or second quarter. He's game planning for the end of the football game. And I think he knows his offensive line is good enough to run behind. And he said when he started evaluating this team back in the spring football season, Bill, that he thought it was a little bit unfair that a lot of the criticism from last year went on the offensive line. To Matt Rhule's first glance at that group, he liked them, he knows they're talented, and he knows there's experience up front. Not to mention, he retained Donovan Raiola, the only coach that is back from Scott Frost's staff. Raiola remains in place, and he's really hit it off with Matt Rhule.
Yeah, and that leads me to one of the kind of the interesting behind-the-scenes nuggets we get from events like this. Donovan Raiola is hosting a book club this fall camp.
Have you read the book, Bill? Two Thieves, I think is what it's titled.
I have not read that book. No, I have not.
Neither have I. But apparently that's, it's not just read it on your own. The players are going to meet, and they're going to have a legit book club. And I think, maybe not to dismiss football players, but I don't see them as guys that are going to huddle around a book and dissect it. But Donovan Raiola likes it, and he's going to make his players read during the football season.
That will be an interesting...
Not just a playbook.
Yeah, that will be an interesting thing to kind of watch again as they move into the Selleck dorms here for fall camp. They'll have the book club. It sounds like they're also going to be doing yoga, meditations, having people come in and to address the team and do things like that. Kevin, I thought the one other interesting question, again, that kind of came out of left field was actually the second question of the day to Matt Rhule on the main stage, and that was addressing whether he had the phenomenon, which, again, Nebraska's famous for, chili and cinnamon rolls.
You know, when you come to Big Ten Media Days, you got to expect any question. And that falls in the line of them, just like how Brett Bielema yesterday was asked about the Barbie movie. Today, Matt Rhule gets the chili and cinnamon rolls question. There was a common theme on some of the off-the-beaten-path questions. It tended to always position back to food for whatever reason. Food, fashion, and movies. I think those are the three topics if you're trying to not talk football with these guys. Nebraska, I think the guys wanted to talk football. And Luke Reimer even joked, at one point he was asked, in his estimation, about 50 times about the 3-3-5 defense. And I jokingly said, well, let's make it 51. What do you think about the 3-3-5 defense? And, he still played the game, and he told me that the one thing Luke Reimer likes about the new defensive scheme for the Huskers is they can come at the quarterback or the ball carrier from just a variety of angles. And it sounds like Tony White's scheme isn't so far over the heads of the defenders. They feel like they know it now, and they're ready to put it into practice when fall camp begins next week.
All right, Kevin, I could keep you here all afternoon long talking about all the things that we saw and that we heard from Big Ten Media Days both yesterday and today. Again, basically any piece of video that you want to see between Matt Rhule's 2 appearances at the podium, you can find on 1011now.com. Again, you had a one-on-one with Trev Alberts as well. You can find that on 1011now.com. You'll obviously have full reports coming up tonight at 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock. Is there anything before I let you go that you want to make sure we talk about and get slipped in there at all?
A couple of things, Bill, since you were just talking about our coverage coming up today. I did one-on-one interviews with Trev Alberts, Jeff Sims, Ethan Piper, and Luke Reimer. So we have some one-on-one interviews. You may have seen some of the press conference videos that are already posted at 1011now.com. Well, we get to stand there and talk football with these guys. So those reports are coming up. Plus, we'll go live here at 6 o'clock coming up on 1011 News at 6. And then, Nebraska, if you didn't notice, they have all this construction going on outside of the stadium. And it's not complete, and as Trev Alberts said, it's a Herculean task to try to get it finished before the football season. It sounds like the players will move into their new locker room at some point during fall camp. It's not going to be ready for when they first take the practice field on July 31st, but they are projected to move in the middle of fall camp. They don't know the exact date of that. Those crews over there have been working tirelessly. You can even remember back during spring football, in the background of some of those press conferences, you could hear the banging of the hammers and the saws going. But it's not complete quite yet. That's not saying it's behind schedule, but it is expected to be done within the next month. Matt Rhule and his coaching staff will likely keep their offices at North Stadium for the time being because they know moving midstream during fall camp might be a little bit challenging. So there's a quick construction update because so many people are curious about when is that going to get done. And of course, there are some big things planned this year for Nebraska football with their home games, this being the 100th year of Memorial Stadium.
Awesome. All right, well, Kevin, I appreciate all the hard work. We all appreciate all the hard work that you've done over the past several days. So, again, I'll let you go so you can kind of put a button on things and get back on the road and get back here to Lincoln. But, again, you'll have that live report coming up tonight at 6. So, Kevin, appreciate it. Thanks for joining in, and hope you have a nice rest of the evening, all right?
All right, happy football season, Bill.
All right. Again, that was Kevin Sjuts, again, sports director, press here at 1011. Again, putting in a lot of hours over the last couple days to bring you guys, hopefully, again, some really good Big Ten Media Day coverage. So, again, like we just mentioned several times, all the press conference stuff from Matt Rhule, Kevin's one-on-one with Trev Alberts, that's all online right now at 1011now.com. You can also see all that on our YouTube channel as well. And again, Kevin has one-on-ones with some of the Husker players as well. That will be up there online here as the rest of the evening wears on. So appreciate everyone for tuning in, and for watching. Again, as always, for all the latest Husker content and all the latest news, weather, and sports, make sure you keep it tuned to 1011, both on air and online. Hope everyone has a nice Thursday afternoon.